We're gonna pull up a biggin'. Let's go fishing. Let's go fishing with Coach Brown. Coach Brown.
Hello, welcome back to Fishing with Coach Brown. You guys are in for a treat today. You get to meet my friend Charley Stefl. And Charley's been writing songs in Nashville for about 38 years.
38 years in Nashville, yes sir.
And you're from various places?
Various places.
Texas?
Yeah, I was born in Homestead, Pennsylvania, southwest Pennsylvania, and then we moved to Texas, and then I went to school in Kentucky, so all over. Been here more than half my life though in Tennessee, so.
Very cool.
I guess this is where I'll end up.
Yeah. Charley's got songs cut by Garth Brooks and George Jones, McCoury Band.
Ann Womack.
Ann Womack, Blake Shelton.
Blake
we wrote
Shelton.
A song together.
Yes, we did.
Called What I Wouldn't Give for Blake Shelton. And Charley's my fishing partner today. We're at Lake Providence, and he says there's a few carp in here. Yeah, Mount Juliet.
Mount Juliet, Tennessee.
He said there's some carp in here, some bass, and so I've
tilapia is the one
tilapia.
most common. Yeah, and you know.
I've never caught a tilapia.
Well, they're good to eat.
So we're going to try to catch a few fish, and I'm going to ask Charley some questions about his music journey, and we're just going to hang out and have some fun with you guys.
Great.
All right.
Well, let's get to fishing. As Charlie Daniels said, ain't it great to be alive and in Tennessee? And I will echo that sentiment right now. Uh-oh, look at all the ducks. There's more and more. Whack. Got the whole family here. Yeah, they're not paying any attention. I don't want to get them tangled in that. I'm glad they're moving on that way.
Fish,
Hey, if
Charles.
Charlie got a bite, he got a fish.
Look at that.
There you go, man. Yeah, I like that bait. I'm gonna try that. What you got?
Oh, I caught him on corn.
Corn?
Small hook and about 3 pieces of corn.
Nice little pan frying there, buddy.
Look at that, guys.
See? Takes
Rockin'.
a pro. Yeah, man, you got it. They're so good to eat, aren't they? I mean, if you like fish. I went fishing with Larry Bastian. Now, Larry's a great songwriter in California. He wrote Rodeo for Garth Brooks and Unanswered Prayers with Garth and Pat Alger, and he took me trout fishing up there in the mountains. He lives out in the Sierra Nevadas, and I was pretty much an observer. I just went up there and watched him, because he had a beautiful stream there that he fishes at, and he did that fly fishing. He just pulled out one trout, a little rainbow trout about that big, as soon as he could get his line back in the water. He caught 30 of them that morning in a period of about 30 minutes. And he took them to the creek and cleaned them right there and layered them with some, they were like banana leaves, but they weren't banana leaves. So big leaves that grow out there, and put them in the basket and took them home and cleaned them all, every last one of them, deep fried them. We had rainbow trout that evening for dinner, and it was so good. Poor old Larry, he's not doing so well these days, but he's such a great songwriter and friend.
He's written a lot of Garth songs.
Yes, he has. He's had one on just about every Garth album.
So you wrote Every Time That It Rains for Garth's first record with Garth, right?
Yeah, in Thai England. That was my first cut. Garth lived very close to us in Inglewood in Nashville, about a 5-minute drive away. He called me one night late. It was 10, 11 o'clock. He said, "Hey man, can you get over here at Thai? And I've started a song and wanted to get you in on it." So I got over there about 11:30 at night, and we sat there and wrote all night, and went out walking. He describes it in his book, that volume 1 of the Garth Brooks anthology. We went walking through the neighborhood in the middle of the night, and got together the next evening and finished it. And Garth went in and cut it. Remember, this is his first album, so nobody knew who he was or what he was going to be. And I was really pleased. That was my first cut, put it on his first album.
It's a great song.
Man, thank you. Garth is the genius behind that song. He's a wonderful songwriter. And
How did you actually meet Garth? Like, what was the first encounter?
same place I met you, Charlie, at the Bluebird. And they have, for those that don't know, they have a Monday night open mic writers night. And I had been in town not long, maybe 2 years, and had wanted to see just, you know, one of those open mic things and see if I was wanting to do it, and went down there, and this new guy by the name of Garth Brooks. No, I had signed up. This is a long time ago, so I had signed up for that night. That's right, because I got up and played as well, and before Garth, and I don't remember what I played, but Garth got up and did a song, and I said to myself, this guy's way on his way to being, you know, a country singer here in Nashville. He's got everything that it takes, and we got to talking. I went over and slipped him a piece of paper. I said, hey man, look up these people there, and Bob Doyle was one of them. And he had already been told about Bob, but I figured that was somebody he needed to talk to, and Bob was really good to me when I was at ASCAP, one of our PROs with collecting money, and Bob started his own publishing company, and Garth, Larry Bastian, Buddy Monlock, those three writers, and they cut it. Alan Reynolds produced it, got on the first album, and that's back when it was fairly easy to get cuts. You know, it was much different than today.
That first album of his is just ridiculous. It's so good.
I love that album. That's still, of course, I have sentimental ties to it. Excuse me for standing up here, but my lines
You're good.
getting looped around these weeds. I detect the problem here.
So you were saying you had some sentimental ties to the album?
Yeah, to that album, just because that was my first cut, and that gave me a entryway into getting other songs cut. Garth and I had written several other songs, and Bob Doyle, his publisher, took one of them over next door. Marshall Tucker Band was cutting, and he played it for them, and they cut it the next day, and it was a single for Marshall Tucker Band, and charted and went topped out in the 70s. You know, it wasn't a big hit for them, but I was just happy to hear them play it. And
Marshall Tucker Band cut. So you wrote a song with Garth that Marshall Tucker Band cut.
yeah, Walk Outside the Lines. That's one of the first songs we wrote.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they did a great job on it. I've heard them sing it live several times when they come to Nashville, and they're one of my favorite old bands from the 70s. Still playing. He got us another cut by a Christian group called Mid-South on Warner, and that actually went #1, called Give What It Takes. I wrote with Brad Rogers and Gene Ellsworth. It was way back in the early 90s. It went on the, they called them the Positive Country chart back then. That was pretty cool.
That's very cool.
When you and I had that, and Tommy had that Blake Shelton thing, boy, that was a big deal.
That was a good thing.
Yeah, he cut the tar out of that beautiful version.
Lila McCann version is amazing too.
The what? Lila McCann, that's right. She cut it as well.
She cut the crap out of that thing.
She did a fantastic job.
Yep. Love both versions.
Yeah, I do too. Hopefully someday somebody else will cut it.
Do you remember very clearly the day we met at the Bluebird?
I do.
With the whole situation?
We were outside. That was what year was that?
97.
97. I had gone down there. Here it was a Garth Brooks tribute, wasn't it? Wasn't it Kent
Brooks
Blasey and
Yep.
Pat Alger?
I drove down from Illinois for one night because I knew all the Garth Brooks writers would be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were standing there, and I didn't know anybody at all in Nashville. You're the first person I knew.
We just got to talking in line. We were waiting in line.
Yeah.
And
I asked Charley if he was a songwriter, and at the time, he's being humble. He's like, "Yeah, I'm a songwriter." And I said, "You had any luck?" He said, "Yeah, I've had a little bit." And at the moment, when I asked you the question, "The Fool" for Ann Womack was #1 on the charts.
yeah.
So I was like, "Yeah, you have had some luck."
Got lucky with that one.
But no,
She did.
I told
great
you I was
job.
taking songwriting lessons from various people. I was paying these hit writers $40 an hour. You're like, "What are you doing that for?" You said, I'll do it for free.
Yeah.
So I'd send you a cassette tape of my song.
Yeah.
And you'd listen to it and flip it over. You'd be driving back and forth to Texas, and you would flip that tape over and record your critique on the back. And you were very good to me from the beginning.
Well, I couldn't see, paying to have your songs critiqued is, I don't like it. All the critiques I got from publishers and producers were through them, and they were all free. We'd go in and play them songs, cassettes. 10 people would be selected, and that's how I got to meet Bob Doyle. They used to have, ASCAP used to have songwriter. It was really kind of an instruction thing, and we'd go in, they selected, you had to send in a tape, and they'd select, that's back when we had tape, they'd select 40 writers out of however many they got, and I had gotten selected, and it was some song that I wrote called Take Me to Heaven, and actually got a good critique on that. They gave me a little confidence, and Bob Doyle came up to me and at the intermission or the break and asked me if I was signed to a PRO yet. I said, no, I hadn't. He said, well, why don't you come over and talk to me at ASCAP, my office. He was still there. So I did, and he listened to some more songs, and we just kind of kept in touch. He's always been really good to me. He's a good man, and he eventually became Garth's publisher and manager.
Manager, yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me about the Fool for Ann Womack.
Well,
you wrote that with Marla?
Yeah, Marla Cannon and Gene Ellsworth. And the Fool started out, Gene had a melody. That whole thing there for the hook. Him and Marla had gotten together to write it, and it wasn't really what they wanted. They just kind of set it aside, and Marla called me and asked if I wanted to come over one day to her place. Her and Gene were getting together, and they were going to start working on this song again, just totally redo the lyrics. The melody was there already, so we just wrote a whole new song, basically, from my recollection, and demoed it with Melonie Cannon, Marla's sister, who has a wonderful voice. Marla does too, by the way. She has a couple albums out. Marla Cannon, and real accomplished songwriter here in Nashville. And I think might have been her first #1. It was Gene and mine second, and it was a thrill because you never expect these things. And all of a sudden, we hear this new artist called Ann Womack, who sounded a little like Melonie, and did it very faithful to Melonie's version, the vocal. Beautiful version, and we heard it, and wow, we just thought it was going to be an album cut, and then they said, wow, later they said it was going to be the second single. And okay.
That's awesome.
You never expect that.
How long did it take for that song to get cut? It didn't seem like it would have taken that long because it's such a great song. Was it like weeks or months?
It had gone through several incarnations before we actually finished it, put it in its final product with some guy. Larry Bastian, who I talked about earlier, is such a dear friend of ours. He said, I'm gonna give you a free tip right here. Why don't you, and he gave us this little songwriter's tip about somewhere at the end of the song. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it tightened it up. And he didn't want any credit for it. He says, you guys you already have this thing written. I'm just giving you my opinion, my advice, and we did it, and that's what sealed it. And
you remember what it was that he said?
I don't remember, honestly, Charlie. Let me put it back in the water, and maybe we can see it right there.
Let's see if I can.
This is the fun part.
I think we're good now.
This is the fun part of fishing. I'm going to try one of my new bobbers. That one's waterlogged.
I might try a plastic worm just for fun.
Well, you had good luck on that other. What was that, corn?
Corn. Caught that monster bluegill.
That would have fried up good, man.
Would have. How many major label cuts would you say you have? People that have recorded your songs that have like a record deal?
Oh man, I don't know. I can't give you a figure. There's Nancy Griffith. I'm so proud of the songs that we wrote together and cut. And she was a major label artist back then. She's passed away since then, of course. The others that we had talked about, and Eddie Arnold. And I'll tell you a story about that Eddie Arnold thing that's pretty unique. I don't know if we're rolling now.
Yeah, we are. Go for it.
Eddie had picked one of our songs. He was working with a new artist. He was doing his 7 Decades of Hits, was the name of the album. And he had a young lady that he had been working with, and I asked her to forgive me. I can't remember her name right offhand, but it was the only song on the album that he did not sing on. but he put it on his 7 decades of hits.
Really?
Eddie Arnold. So I went ahead and counted that as an Eddie Arnold cut since it's on his 7 decades of hits.
Heck yeah.
But
Count that.
yeah, I was very, very honored to have that. And she did a knockdown job. I'm sorry, I'd have to look up her name again. It's been so many years. Nowadays, most of my cuts are on bluegrass labels, which are not your major labels, but they're still legitimate labels, such as Mountain Home, and got some by the Grascals.
And you're writing songs that people want to record. That's awesome.
That's the goal, but it's much harder these days, probably because I'm a lot older now too. I'm not making excuses, but I do love bluegrass, and I'm very proud and happy to have songs cut by, I've got several coming up. One, Tim Stafford and Tom Utes have an album coming out called Lost Voices, and we wrote the title cut on that one.
Lost Voices?
Yeah, Tim Stafford and Tom Utes. It's going to be awesome. And then got something on Carly Arrowwood, song I wrote with Janae Fleener, Fiddle Player of the Year, and Tom Utes. And John Weisberger and Tom and I wrote a song that was 5 weeks #1 on the bluegrass charts last year, or 2 years ago, I'm sorry, called I'm a Wanderer. And Chris Jones and the Night Drivers cut that. I think they're on Mountain Home label. And they did such a wonderful job. And Chris was playing at the Ryman 2 weeks ago. It was his first appearance on the Opry, on the Grand Ole Opry, Chris Jones, and he played our song. And one of the biggest thrills in songwriting is to have your song played either at the Ryman or on the Opry at the Opry House. So got to see that. And another big thrill was hearing, I had a cut by Alabama a few years ago. I'd written it with Tony Ramey and Trent Tomlinson, and it made it on 2 Alabama albums. One live, recorded at the Ryman. I got to hear him play it at the Ryman, which was
What's the song?
Alabama. It's called That's How I Was Raised.
Oh, I know that song. That's
Yeah,
a great one.
I played it out sometimes with us, and they just, you know, it's Alabama, so you can't beat that. They did a really killer job on that. Oh man, just so much fun here in Nashville. I love it.
It's an awesome place.
It's a different town now, Charles, because the number of people that have moved here, I'm sure you've noticed the traffic is bumped up quite a bit.
It's definitely crowded.
Yeah.
Music business has changed a lot. It's not going to keep me from trying.
Now, Music Row's quite different. You staying down on Music Row, right?
Yep.
So I don't know how you recognized it down there. It's totally different.
Hard to recognize, actually.
Yeah.
It's a lot of condos.
Yeah, it is.
See that big old fish down there? swirling around?
Get him.
Probably a carp.
I'm gonna try not to tangle my line this time. I got a bite, but he got away. I didn't set the hook. Charlie's in search of a carp over there. Let's try that again. Got the old Zebco 33 here. For real? Any luck?
I think I scared him away. He saw my face.
You can see him down there swimming.
Yeah, they get big. Well, we didn't get skunk, we can say that.
I'm getting bites, but nobody's taking it. Here's a little nibbles.
Nice morning.
Oh man, couldn't be more beautiful.
It's not too hot yet.
I'm right behind you here, Charles. I just didn't want to get a hook in my ear. We couldn't have gotten a more beautiful morning.
Perfect out here.
I wish the water wasn't quite as warm, but it is the end of July.
Yeah, it is. It's gonna get hot fast today.
It is.
So we can hang with it a little longer.
That's why we're out here early. I'm gonna fix us some good old Tennessee biscuits and gravy, sausage biscuits and some eggs after we get done here.
Oh, that sounds good.
Fry up one of those fish you're gonna catch, Charlie. Yeah, nothing like sausage and bluegill. Good day for biscuits and gravy. There's a long tradition of songwriters here that will help young, starting out songwriters, when I was first starting out here in Nashville, I had been writing songs for, what I thought were halfway decent songs, starting in high school, and when I got here, the number of established songwriters that were willing to offer me tips and advice and where to go and who to see and what to do. Look at that now. Is that carp you were looking for?
I think so.
There you go, nail them now.
Go ahead, they were offering.
And yeah, they're so generous.
I was lucky to have met you, Charlie.
Well, just try to build on what other people gave me. Pat Alger was very helpful, and Larry Bashan, of course, and Nancy Griffith, all those people, Townes Van Zandt, all of those people that I really, really loved as musicians and songwriters and artists were very, very helpful.
We all need people to guide us.
And they wanted to make sure that I didn't repeat the same mistakes that they had made in their careers, sharing that advice. That's why I was kind of at odds with that thing about charging money to, critique your songs.
I was happy to pay it because I wanted to learn.
I understand
so much, but at the same time, I get it. I try to help people when I can. And
yeah, I understand. It just seemed kind of. I know people that do that. I don't want to speak ill of them, but to me, I had always gotten free advice, so it just seemed wrong to me. But to each his own, Yeah. I remember the first fish I ever caught. I was in Florida. We were visiting my grandparents down in Tampa, and my granddad rather was on my mother's side was a piano tuner, and he sold pianos and refurbished them, and he also played quite well, and he liked to fish, and so we went out fishing on the road that goes out to Clearwater. I forget what it's called, but so we were down there, and I caught I can't remember the weight, but it was a mackerel, and it was about that long, and I was about 10 years old. So that got me hooked, of course.
Oh my gosh.
And
never caught a mackerel. No, you know what? I have caught a mackerel.
It was so much fun, and my dad was much more of a fisherman than I was. He would go with his brothers. He had 3 brothers, and they would go up into Canada to fish, and they always came back with dozens of fish. Well, they didn't come back with them, but I saw the pictures of them. They ate them there on the spot, of course, that day or the next day, and his love of fishing, and then, but he took me fishing, and plus I had a little experience with just a cane pole and a line. No reel, just cane pole fishing.
I love cane pole fishing.
And it was just so much fun.
I just cut 6 new bamboo poles.
Did you?
From the Lake of the Ozarks a
Oh,
couple
how
weeks
cool.
ago. I love fishing with a cane pole.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It's relaxing. When I lived up in Hendersonville, I got to, remember when I lived across from the lake there, I think we rode up there in Hendersonville at my house, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, and the lake, Old Hickory Lake was right across the way.
That's where we wrote What I Wouldn't Give.
Yeah, What I Wouldn't Give, that's right. I would go out there every afternoon, and not every afternoon, a couple afternoons a week, and just sit. I'm more of a gentleman fisherman. I'm not a skilled fisherman. My knowledge is lacking. It's just from my own experiences, and I love it. And
I'm a professional amateur.
A professional amateur is, yeah. I'm not even. I wouldn't even count myself as an amateur. I'm just a hack. Just do it for the fun and relaxation, and I guess that's all fishing is.
What do you think, Charlie? You want to have some biscuits and gravy?
Yeah, it's about 7 o'clock. Try a couple more casts out. Just so you don't think I'm telling you fish stories, that's my last catch there.
Ooh, that's a nice bass.
Yeah, it is.
Where'd you catch that at?
Right here.
Right here?
Right out there. That's why I wanted to come back down here. We sit on further down the lake as well sometimes, but...
Look at that thing. That's a nice bass.
It's a beautiful day. One more cast before it gets too hot. These rocks are slippery. I don't want to end up in the lake. I'm gonna do one more here. I got several nibbles out there, so I'm going deep, hoping they're hungry.
Did you catch that bass that you showed me on a rubber worm?
Uh-huh. This is about as relaxing as it gets, isn't it?
This is perfect. I'm excited for my friends back home to get to know you a little bit on this interview.
Well, I'm glad to do this, Charlie, and I thank you very much for having me. It's been a real honor, and to have you not only as a great songwriter, but as a great friend, and I appreciate this.
Same to you, bud.
Sorry I couldn't bring you more luck this morning, but that's all right.
That's all right.
It's fun. The whole experience is supposed to be fun, and like Cowboy Jack Clement said, we're in the business of fun, right? If it ain't fun, we're doing something wrong. And he was talking about songwriting and recording, and I think the same way about fishing. If it ain't fun, don't do it. And unless you're a professional, competitive fisherman, and then it's still fun, I'm sure. I've never gotten to that point, and I know I never will.
It's biscuits and gravy time.
Yes, it is.
We're gonna head up to Charlie's, have some breakfast, and I might have a nap in my future.
Yeah, I definitely have one. I've been up since 2:30, so.
2:30?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Bright and squirrely. Yeah, that's what happens when you get old. You wake up and then you can't fall back to sleep. I really appreciate you having me, Charlie. This has really been fun, and let's go eat.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in.
All right, thank y'all.
Thanks for watching Fishing with Coach Brown. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
So this is your office?
Yeah, let me get out of the way. Excuse my mess.
There's our Blake Shelton gold record. That's the George Jones, The Visit, Ann Womack. Where's Garth?
Right over in the corner there.
Every time that it rains.
Works,
3 guitars. Oh, I was wrong. 5 guitars and a mandolin.
Yeah, I can only play one at a time, though,
Look at that.
That is Tennessee Pride sausage there, and a little milk and flour, and it's starting to thicken up. Add a little milk here to it so it doesn't get too tight.
Here it is. Charley Stefl. He can write hit songs and cook a mean biscuit.